In this video, I'm going to tell you all about Krampus, the terrifying counterpart to Santa Claus, half goat, half demon. A creature who doesn't reward you for good behavior, but loves to punish you for the bad. Imagine it's the night before Christmas, and your parents and siblings were sound asleep in their beds. But you couldn't wait. The excitement was too much, so you tiptoed downstairs to open your presents early. Your heart raced as you tear through the wrapping paper, opening every gift you could find. But when you reach the one with your name on it, your smile quickly fades. Inside wasn't the toy you had been hoping for, but a black lump of coal. Suddenly, the room felt icy, and you hear the sound of rattling chains echoing from the shadows behind you. You misbehaved, didn't you? And for children who misbehave, there is only one visitor. The shadowy figure known as the Demon of Christmas, Krampus. While most of us associate Christmas with joy, gifts, and Santa Claus, there is a darker side to this holiday that comes to us from Central Europe. You have probably heard of Santa's naughty list, where kids who misbehave don't get presents. But what if being on that list wasn't just about skipping gifts? What if it meant something much worse? Enter Krampus, a demon straight out of Christmas nightmares. Stories say that he doesn't scold naughty kids. He might drown them, eat them, or drag them to the underworld. Krampus is one of the most fascinating Christmas legends, and it's been around for centuries. His tale goes back to the snowy mountains of Central Europe, in countries like Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Today, we know him as Santa's not-so-nice partner, the one who punishes bad kids while Santa Claus rewards the good ones. But Krampus wasn't always tied to Christmas. In the oldest traditions, Krampus likely started as part of pagan winter festivals. People dressed in masks and animal furs running through villages causing trouble. It was all about celebrating the season and having fun, even if it got a little wild. Something Krampus might have come from the idea of a horned god, which has been seen in myths and religions all over the world. He even shares some traits with the satires of Greek mythology, though Krampus is way scarier. The name Krampus might come from an old German word, Kampen, meaning claw, fitting for a creature with terrifying claws. But his exact origins are murky. What we do know is that these early festivals had little to do with Christmas. Over time, as Christianity spread, the church tried to get rid of these pagan traditions. Still, some stuck around, blending with Christian holidays. One connection to Krampus comes from an Austrian figure named Perchta. She's like a mix of Santa and Krampus, rewarding good kids and punishing the bad ones during the 12 days of Christmas. If you were good, Perchta would leave a silver coin in your shoe. If you were bad, well, let's just say that she wasn't kind. If you thought Krampus was scary, Perchta is 10 times worse. And her darker tales, if kids or adults misbehaved, or even if they ate the wrong food during her festival, Perchta didn't just scold them. Instead, she would slice open their bellies, pull out their stomach and guts, then stuff the empty space with straw and pebbles before sewing them back up. To add to the mystery, Perchta had two sides. Sometimes, she appeared as a beautiful woman dressed in white, symbolizing goodness and blessings. Other times, she showed up as an old, withered hag, representing punishment and fear. Alongside her were spirits called the Perchten, who also had two forms. The beautiful ones, sort of speak, brought good fortune, while the ugly ones had fangs, tusks, and horsetails, much like Krampus. The ugly Perchten had a purpose too. They were meant to scare away evil spirits from homes. This tradition led to something called Pechtenlauf, or the Perchten Run. Men would dress up as these scary creatures, parading through villages and making noise to drive out bad spirits. Now, the church, as you can imagine, didn't love these wild celebrations. They saw the Pächtenlauf as immoral and tried to ban it. But many Austrian villages weren't having it. They kept the tradition alive. Some even added a figure dressed as St. Nicholas to join in, blending Christian elements with the older pagan customs. By the 11th century, Santa Claus's story had gained popularity, and over time, the figure of Krampus as we know him began to take shape. The church, still trying to suppress the Pächtenlauf, decided to replace Perchta and the Perchten with a new creature. This being, now tied to Santa Claus, became Krampus, a terrifying demon with sharp fangs and long claws. Over the years, Krampus evolved into the Christmas demon we know today, a spooky figure who adds a little fright to the holiday cheer. Whether you see him as a scary story or as an old tradition, one thing's for sure, Krampus reminds us that Christmas isn't always about the fun and presents. At first, Krampus wasn't just one monster. He was thought to be part of a group or race of similar creatures that appeared during the Yule session. But over time, his story became more focused. December 6th, known as St. Nicholas Day, was when St. Nicholas rewarded the good kids. The night before, December the 5th, became Krampusnacht, Krampus night. This was Krampus' time to roam the streets, punishing the naughty children. Krampus carried birch sticks to swat misbehaving kids, and he had a sack or basket on his back to take especially bad ones away, sometimes to be drowned, eaten, or dragged to the underworld. Unlike St. Nicholas, who brought gifts and goodwill, Krampus symbolized punishment and fear. The church eventually accepted Krampus as part of their winter traditions, using him to portray the devil's punishment. They added chains to Krampus's look to symbolize their church's control over evil. This blending of traditions, Christian and pagan, was a common strategy used to convert people by integrating their beliefs into the church's teachings. It wasn't as simple as telling people to stop believing in their customs. Instead, the church found ways to adapt and merge them into Christianity, creating the Krampus legend we know today. While Krampus might seem scary at first glance, his story is actually about balance, finding common ground between older beliefs and new traditions. In Austria, people adjusted their pagan customs to fit with the Christian teachings brought by the church. This is how the tale of St. Nicholas and Krampus came to be. What started as a saint, handing out twigs to naughty kids, evolved into a much darker story. If you were bad, you wouldn't just get a stick. You could be dragged to hell by a giant horned monster. If you were lucky, you would only get tossed into a lake or eaten. None of that sounds amusing to me. By the 16th century, St. Nicholas transformed into what we now know as Santa Claus. His Dutch name, Sinterklaas, turned into Santa, while in the UK he became Father Christmas. But Krampus stayed the same, and in many places, December the 5th was still celebrated as Krampusnacht or Krampus Night. Over time, people outside of the Alpine regions started blending this with Christmas Eve instead, which is why you might see Krampus showing up in stories and movies closer to December the 24th. All the traditions tied to Krampus vary depending on where you are. In some towns, it's all about humor, while in others, it leans into the darker side. But mostly, it's just good fun. One of the most popular events is the Krampuslauf or Krampus Run. It's a lot like the older Pächtenlauf, with groups dressing up as Krampus in fur and masks, wearing large bells so you can hear them coming. They roam the streets, sometimes scaring kids or random bystanders, throwing snow or lightly whipping people with twigs. In some cases, they visit homes, give small gifts, and receive schnapps or brandy in return. So you can see this as the Christmas version of adult trick-or-treating. In parts of Austria, families even leave painted gold twigs around the house all year as a reminder for kids to behave. During the 1800s, Krampus became a popular figure in postcards, candy wrappers, and greeting cards. But these images weren't always flattering. He was often drawn as a devilish creature in unsettling or inappropriate ways. This was partly because people in big cities who had never seen these traditions only had the church's stories to go by, which compared Krampus to the devil. Over time, these depictions became more playful and less scary to appeal to a wider audience. What's great is that Krampus celebrations still happen today, not just in Austria and Germany, but all over the world, even in North America. While the tales of Krampus have dark undertones, calling him purely evil misses the point. Before Christianity reshaped the traditions, spirits like the Perchten were protectors, and Krampus was created as a way to preserve those customs. Even in his role as St. Nicholas's companion, Krampus doesn't harm innocent people. He punishes those who deserve it, representing the idea of the necessary consequences. For many families, these festivals are just a fun way to celebrate. In the end, Krampus and St. Nicholas symbolize something deeper. They reflect human nature. We all have the potential for good and bad, and for society to work, we need rewards for the good and consequences for the bad, even if that consequence comes in the form of a hairy goat monster. Thank you so much for joining me for today's tale. If you had fun or learned anything, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button, or you can also share this video with someone else. It's a very small button for you, and a gigantic leap for my channel. Until the next tale, farewell, and may the gods smile upon you.